While the political persecution of former President Donald Trump continues to make headlines, albeit described by the propagandists as Trump's hush money criminal trial, a new bit of information concerning Trump's first impeachment trial has come to light that is of interest. From Real Clearwire via Zero Hedge, yikes, impeachment whistleblower was in the loop of Biden-Ukraine affairs that Trump wanted probed. The whistleblower who sparked Donald Trump's first impeachment was deeply involved in the political maneuverings behind Biden family business schemes in Ukraine that Trump wanted probed. Newly obtained emails from former Vice President Joe Biden's office reveal. In 2019, then National Intelligence Council analyst Eric Ciaramella, and I'm sure I butchered that name, touched off a political firestorm when he anonymously accused Trump of linking military aid for Ukraine to a demand for an investigation into alleged Biden corruption in that country. Let's take a look and see who Eric Ciaramella is. Did a quick search, and he has a page on the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. He's a senior fellow there in their Russia and Eurasia program, and it says that prior to joining Carnegie, Ciaramella served for 12 years in the U.S. government as an intelligence analyst and policy official. He was a deputy national intelligence officer for Russia and Ukraine at the National Intelligence Council, where he helped lead the intelligence community's strategic analysis on the former Soviet Union. He served on the National Security Council staff, first as director for Ukraine and then as acting senior director for Europe and Russia. He was also a senior political analyst at the Central Intelligence Agency, where he specialized in Europe and the former Soviet Union. Let me just re-highlight that last part. Central Intelligence Agency. Just want to make sure everybody took note. Back to the article, but 4 years earlier, while working as a national security analyst attached to then Vice President Joe Biden's office, Ciaramella was a close advisor when Biden threatened to cut off U.S. aid to Ukraine unless it fired its top prosecutor, Viktor Shokin, who was investigating Ukraine-based Burisma holdings. At the time, the corruption-riddled energy giant was paying Biden's son, Hunter, millions of dollars. I'd like to just interject with this one video of Biden, who bragged about doing this to the Council of Foreign Relations when he was out of office while Trump was president.
I was, not but it just happened to be that was the assignment I got. I got all the good ones. So I got Ukraine. And I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired.
Well, son of a bitch. Did he just admit to getting the guy who was investigating his son's company, or the company that was giving his son a bunch of money? Did he just admit to getting that guy fired under threat of withholding aid from the U.S. government while acting in his official role as Vice President of the United States? It sounds to me like he just did. The article continues, those payments, the payments to Hunter Biden from Burisma Holdings, along with other evidence tying Joe Biden to his family's business dealings, received little attention in 2019 as Ciaramella accused Trump of a corrupt quid pro quo. Neither did subsequent evidence indicating that Hunter Biden's associates had identified Shokin as a key target. These matters are now part of the House impeachment inquiry into President Biden. George Washington University law professor Jonathan Turley says, "It now seems there was material evidence that would have been used at the impeachment trial to exonerate Trump. Trump was alleging there was a conflict of interest with the Bidens, and the evidence could have challenged Biden's account and established his son's interest in the Shokin firing. Ciaramella's role, including high-level discussions with top Biden aides and Ukrainian prosecutors, is only now coming to light thanks to the recent release of White House emails and photos from the National Archives. The emails show Ciaramella expressed shock. 'Yikes,' is what he wrote at Biden's move to withhold the $1 billion, which he was just talking about in the video we watched when he was speaking to the Council on Foreign Relations. At Biden's move to withhold the $1 billion in aid from Kyiv, which represented a sudden shift in U.S. policy. They also show he was drawn into White House communications over how to control adverse publicity from Hunter taking a lucrative seat on Burisma's board. Yet there is no evidence Ciaramella raised alarms about the questionable Biden business activities he witnessed firsthand, which is in sharp contrast to 2019. In 2019, he was supposedly galvanized into action after being told by White House colleague Alexander Vindman of an improper, quote-unquote, phone call between President Trump and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. During the call, Trump solicited Zelensky's help in investigating Burisma and Hunter's role in the company. Some former congressional investigators say Ciaramella effectively helped cover up a scandal far worse than what Trump was impeached over. At the very least, it sounds like they accused Trump of doing basically what Biden actually admitted to doing when he was talking to the Council on Foreign Relations. What's more, he failed to disclose that he had a potential conflict of interest stemming from his connection to the matter Trump asked Zelensky to probe when he lodged his complaint against Trump. Real Clear Investigations was the first to identify the then 33-year-old Ciaramella as the anonymous impeachment whistleblower, something major media continue to keep under tight wraps. The article continues, Ciaramella was directly involved in talks concerning the massive U.S. aid package to Ukraine that Biden conditioned on the removal of Shokin, who at the time had seized the assets of the corrupt Burisma oligarch employing Hunter Biden. He also arranged and participated in White House talks with Ukrainian prosecutors visiting from Shokin's office. Emails from the time show Ciaramella appeared surprised to hear about the linkage between the $1 billion loan to Ukraine and the dismissal of Shokin. Though Biden maintains he insisted Kyiv oust Shokin because he was too soft on weeding out fraud in entities that included Burisma, Ciaramella suggested he didn't share the view that Shokin was corrupt. Quote, "We were super impressed with the group," Ciaramella added, "and we had a 2-hour discussion of their priorities and the obstacles they face." On January 21 of 2016, U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine Jeffrey Pyatt emailed Ciaramella and other White House aides an article from the Ukrainian press, quote, U.S. loan guarantee conditional on Shokin's dismissal. Yikes! I don't recall this coming up in our meeting with them, Ciaramella replied, referring to the White House meeting he hosted with top Ukrainian prosecutors. But in a closed-door 2020 deposition before the Senate, Pyatt sounded skeptical that Ciaramella was in the dark about the decision. Quote, I think you have to ask Eric, that's Ciaramella, what he meant by yikes, Pyatt told Senate investigators. He said that he believed conditioning the loan guarantee on Shokin's removal obviously came up in those meetings, hosted by Ciaramella, suggesting that Biden's aide knew of the quid pro quo before Pyatt circulated the article about it from the Ukrainian press. And here's another interesting tidbit. The day before he hosted the Ukraine prosecutors, Ciaramella received an agenda from a State Department official that asked him to, quote, Note the importance of appointing a new PG, that means Prosecutor General, reiterating that Shokin is an obstacle to reform, according to emails. The agenda also called on Ciaramella to, quote, ask the DEL, which is an abbreviation for the Ukrainian delegation, what high-level cases are on the docket for prosecution. The article says this raises suspicions in some quarters that Biden's advisors were fishing for information about Shokin's plans for prosecuting Burisma oligarchs, something Hunter Biden had been asked to find out. Additionally, in a January 21 email, Pyatt told Ciaramella to, quote, buckle in, because, as he later explained to Senate investigators, the deal was a, quote, difficult issue and there was going to be political controversy around this. And here's the crux of it, I think, ladies and gentlemen. If what Ciaramella expressed in his email, which he knew would be part of archived White House records, was a genuine reaction, it appears that Vice President Biden went against the recommendation of one of his top NSC advisors on Ukraine. If Ciaramella were genuinely alarmed, he might have blown the whistle on his boss like he did on Trump, but he stayed mum. If, on the other hand, Ciaramella were a party to the quid pro quo discussions, as former Ambassador Pyatt suggests, then he had a direct conflict. As noted by Derek Harvey, the former congressional investigator involved in the first impeachment of Trump. Either way, Ciaramella clearly found himself in the middle of a major controversy. So you've got somebody here who claims to have been motivated by concerns about when he came forward and claimed to be blowing the whistle on President Trump, yet when faced with very similar circumstances concerning the current president, when he was vice president and he was working for him, he kept his mouth shut.